how'd you go from, you were across campus and then you came over to athletics?
That's true.
So how did that transpire?
Um, that's kind of an interesting little scenario, and I think the scenario is the reason I probably ended up over here. That somewhere along the line I'd met Lynn Way, and I took her place over here, and this is when we were doing the NCAA Peach Belt tournaments. They were lasting a lot longer than they do now. You might have 1 or 2 days, where it used to be like what, a 4-day tournament, and they were always looking for volunteers, and I thought, well, that'll be fun. So I worked most of the, if not all of the, baseball and basketball tournaments. And there's some stories behind some of those tournaments and the volunteers. But I was one of them. And she came over to see me one day, and when I was in academic fairs, and said, "Oh, by the way, the job's over." Because you walk in this place, you want to be here because it's fun, and it doesn't matter who's sitting at the desk, but it's a beautiful building. It's just a fun thing to do. And when she told me that the job's open, well, myself and maybe, I don't know, 60 or 80 other people thought they would be really good in the position. And I had to go through all the loops everybody else did, the phone interviews and whatnot. And lo and behold, September was 12 years ago. And I think the fact that I volunteered, I don't know, there was probably people a lot more qualified and whatnot, but there's, no coincidences.
What have been some of your favorite things that you've done here at USC Aiken?
Well, when I first came over here, I would get out of my car in that parking lot, and I would not do a little. I didn't do a happy dance, but it was pretty close. Just the fact of all the people on the planet, I had keys to this building, and even now, when I look at this building, I think just to be able to have, the privilege to come in here, day or night. I used to say I was going to come over here at midnight and go roller skating around the gym, which I never did. It was a journey, because the first couple of years I was over here, I didn't have a lot of connections with the kids and whatnot. And as that progressed, I mean, it goes without saying, my relationships with these kids. Holy moly. I mean, I've got kids all over the planet now, and one of the things talked about in retirement is I could probably just take 6 months off and go all over Europe and Australia and Africa and Brazil and Portugal, Canada, and just visit these kids. So that's probably been the most meaningful. But as we all know, we have a couple pranksters in our office, and this started early on, and that was Mike Brandt, who was our former women's basketball coach, and Michael Carlisle. And it was their quest in life, I don't know, for the Holy Grail or whatever you want to call it, to see who could get the most screams out of me. And they would hide and duck and do the most atrocious things just to make me scream. Y'all have all heard the screaming. And unfortunately, some of our players decided that's fun too, so they thought they'd get in on the act. And without a doubt, the people and the parents, the people that live in Aiken that have supported this program, met people that I would have never had access to, and the parents, and am I looking in the right place to look straight on? Mm-hmm. Okay, Randy Warwick, this one's for you. It only took me how long to run you off? So I won that battle. I just want to say this from the bottom of my heart: the staff and the coaches that have endured my, I don't even know what you'd call it. We were talking to Tim Hall not too long ago, and how he was describing someone, and I said, "Well, Tim, how would you describe me?" And he said, "Fun." Okay, I'll buy that. So it's just, how fortunate are you to be in a situation that you can have a little bit of everything. It's sort of like going to the state fair or something. You walk around, and it's one big adventure. I think that pretty much covers that. What do you think?
Sure. So how did you end up at USC Aiken in the first place?
Oh, there's another story. Okay, first of all, let me preface this by saying I have had more kids sit with me, and I said, imagine yourself playing pinball or a pinball machine, whatever blows your skirts up. And you go bing, ding, ding, and you go from here to here to here to here to here to here to here. And it's wild and it's crazy and noisy. And I started out, my first job was in 1970, late 71, 72, and yes, I am old, was at the Augusta National working in the clubhouse. And sitting in there, one of the perks of being there was having lunch every day in the members' dining room. Jack Nicholas walks in, sits down, it's like, and the people didn't think much of it. Of course, I'm like, blah, blah, blah. But I left there and went to Dallas, stayed in Dallas till 83, came home and did banking and real estate and that kind of thing. And I ended up at the medical college, which was another thing that I was really, really happy to do. I worked in neurology and worked with the epilepsy program, which was, beyond spectacular. Tom Swift, Don King, Brian Gallagher, some of the doctors I worked with, doing epilepsy surgery, evaluating patients for surgery. That in itself, I could sit here and talk for 2 days about that. And then I left there and went over to the Department of Medicine in the 95, 96 to do outcomes research. But you can only go so far, and this was there've been a lot of changes over there, and it's like, okay. And people that know me know that I'm one of those that says, okay, I'm not having any more fun. But most people don't get a divorce or quit their job or sell their house because they're not having any more fun. But I think that's a simpler way to describe, without having to, make your ears bleed from the details. So I left. And I took a year off, and I ran into someone I'd known since I was a teenager. We started seeing each other. And I was raising goats. And donkeys. Yes, I had 11 goats, 2 donkeys. And going to New York, I felt like Mrs. Douglas on Green Acres, singing, "No, York is where I'd rather stay." And actually, there I am on Central Park, Tavern on the Green, having wine. Then I'd come home to the plantation in North Augusta. But that was fun for about a year. And I just, y'all know me well enough to know that I am not very idle. And I'm actually sitting kind of still right now, and that's pretty remarkable. And so I started looking, and it turned out that there was a job open over here. It was Masters Week of 2006, and I grew up around here, so Masters Week, everything was shut down. I didn't realize that not everything was shut down. So I interviewed, and they called me a week later, and I went to work in academic affairs, which was like working in, no offense to academic affairs, but you either work at the circus or in maybe the warden's office. And you go to academic affairs when there's something really serious going on or you've done something very egregious. And so I stayed over there, and it's like our former executive vice chancellor, which I love to tell this story. People started stopping by to visit. And she said to me, "Billie, people do not come here to linger." So I said, okay, so let's see if we can, tamper down this enthusiasm. And by the way, I'd only been here 7 months, and this is when we gave the Employee of the Month award. And I did get an award, not having been here for a year, for enthusiasm. Which, isn't that hilarious? So I was over there. I had thought about moving to Savannah. I always wanted to live there and didn't. I said, no, I think I'm going to stay here. And a job came up with Georgia Tech. I had worked for the state of Georgia for almost 17 years. And then I'd only been gone for a year. Thought, that's great. I think I'll go back over there. So I went to Savannah and I interviewed with Georgia Tech. Spent a day in Savannah, had fun. My mom went with me, even looked at a house. I thought, this is great. They called me on Monday. We would love for you to come to work. And I said, I don't think so. I turned it down. And I talked to Suzanne, and I said, it's not a good fit. I don't think it's time. And I said, and this is such a sweet campus. And I think I should stay here. And I did. So, again, no coincidences. I stayed here, and who would have known, in 2008 that I would be in this beautiful building. But the best part of this story, we were doing an NCAA tournament a few years ago. And Dr. Jordan and Wendell Staten, who's the AD in Milledgeville, we were sitting at the end of the table together, and I was telling them this story. And I think it was Wendell who said, it's a good thing you didn't take that job because they closed that campus. So see, it worked out. It's like that pinball machine. You just finally end up where you're supposed to be and sitting here doing what I'm doing right now with Cody and Brent. Who'd have thought that somebody would interview me? So everything worked out. So that's it in a little bit of a nutshell.
What's one thing that people don't know about Billie Murphy that you can share?
Huh?
That you can share.
What'd you say?
That you can share with everybody.
Well, yeah, you know me, because I'm so transparent about everything. I have fun, first of all, with Jim Hurley, he jerking his chain. I really, really do. And one of my terms of endearment is Mr. Wizard, and he keeps saying, I don't think that is nice. No, actually, it is nice. First of all, on several occasions, he will say, you were so smart. It's like, don't tell anybody. Or that I'm nice. It's no. We don't want to ruin my reputation because people are so sure because they've seen a few of my broomsticks. And so they know that I have some really interesting powers. But what people really don't realize is, I had my fun in the 70s. There's things in Dallas, Texas that will never, be revealed because you would expire on the spot. Nothing that you go to prison for, but today's standards, as the way it was, and we're not talking about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, just fun. You couldn't get away with it today. I mean, when we were in high school, we rolled people's yards and I didn't like egging cars, but we rolled people's houses, and we thought it was funny. But today, people, But so after my, I won't call it a misspent youth, but I couldn't have picked a better city than Dallas, Texas, to have that fun in. But in the last probably 10 or 15 years, my interest has changed. I've discovered wine I didn't really like wine for years, so I drink a lot of wine, but I read. I'm really into astronomy and science. Michio Kaku, I could just sit and talk. He's one person I'd love to sit down and talk to. And what people don't know about Nikola Tesla. Tesla's not a car. He came over here from Serbia in the 1800s, and even some of his contemporaries have touted him as being probably the smartest man on the planet. And if you don't know who he is, look it up. So that's what I do. I read, I study. It's just like when we were talking about the Lusitania a while ago. And I forget that I know all this stuff, and it's so much fun at some point to share it with people. That's what people don't know about me is I'm a very serious reader and studier. That sounds really studier. That makes sense. That sounds like a smart person, doesn't it, Brent?
Yeah.
Don't you walk out that door.
So, what is probably your best memory of your time at USC Aiken as a whole?
Oh, wow. People who know me know that I would it takes. See, now start stammering. Jesus. Every year we do the faculty staff appreciation thing and whatnot. For the first time, one of our kids wanted to honor me, and now that simple thing that was just absolutely phenomenal. The reason I'm still here and haven't retired is August Linville and Dan Sheehan and now Nick's jumping up and down. These guys are like, you cannot retire until we've done this appreciation banquet thing. I think that would probably be the highlight to know how much these kids now I sound like sort of a smart aleck or whatever, but it is an honor. It is an absolute honor, and their parents. That's probably the best part. I mean, we've had some fun, and I've done things in this building. Oh, and remember a few years ago when we did, when Corey Burns and we choreographed the Midnight Madness thing, where we went out there dancing and all the coaches, and that was too funny for words. So it's I could sit here again, I didn't think about these things ahead of time. But yeah, it would have to be the first time one of the kids honored me. And some of the things, it's just like with Johnson Holiday. He came in a few years ago, and his mom had made me some beautiful bracelets, things like that. And these kids, no, it's all about the kids.
I was going to ask you, like, what's kept you here so
The kids.
long? Because you
These,
moved around so much.
these
but it
kids.
sounds like it's the relationship.
These kids, honestly, I was teasing Cody about, oh, good, maybe I'll get a date off of this. I'm not really looking for a date because nobody can put up with me. But, yeah, I stay for the children. And I married late. I thought I got it right the first time. And for my 50th birthday, I said, I'm not having any more fun. And there was obviously more to it than that. And my poor first husband, I tried it the second time, and after 30 days, we know how that one worked out, didn't we? I used to tell David, I said, you better hope Bosco doesn't die, because that dog dies. I'm divorcing you. And I miss my dog. Y'all have seen his pictures all over him and Haley. He died in May of 2001. And there were things that, you just don't move out of the house the next day. And then we rescued Monroe to keep Haley company. But in the summer of 2002, I did move out. And I'm not afraid to take chances. And my take on what's normal for one person doesn't mean it's abnormal if somebody else is doing it the other way. So I didn't buy into it. We've had this conversation about they. They say you're supposed to be here by this time and you got to get this done. I said I have never met they. I've got on white pants right now, folks, and it's November 5th. So I mean, it's just like, who says I can't wear white after Labor Day? And so I never subscribed to the they thing. So as a result, I married late, didn't have kids, and I love kids, and I really thought I'd have a bunch of them, and be a school teacher. Teach English and Lit. That's all I want to do is teach school. So maybe, that's part of my not obsession, but my interest in good books and whatnot. So the fact that I didn't have kids, and now at almost 68, I've got hundreds, absolutely, and that's what really does it for me. Who wouldn't love that? That's what does it for me, and y'all, of course.
So what's next for you? Because you've announced your retirement.
Yes.
What's coming next?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank Jim Herlihy for that letter or the announcement he sent y'all. The letter that I sent him, well, we all kind of knew this has been sort of percolating for several years. And so when I sent him the going away letter, I've never written retirement, only once, it doesn't matter. I started crying when I read what I wrote him. And it's not your normal, are you serious? This is what she said? It was pretty funny. And when it was just like, waterworks. He has been, he's an absolute joy. But the person, if we want to let's blame it on Tim Hall, because he's been after me for how many years? You need to retire, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do that. And this will lead me into another one of my interesting stories. I call it the meal analogy. And I can analogize just about anything. But think of your life as a meal. So your appetizer and glass of wine or whatever it may be is like from the time you're born till you get out of school. So that's the first part. Then you have your main course. So now you're an adult. Your mortgages and kids and saving for college and saving retirement. So that's your main meal. And that takes 25 years maybe, if not longer. and then there's dessert. Jell-O is not on many menus anymore because remember they used to say there's always room for Jell-O. Not really. Not really. And this is not something I think, was it one of some country westerns, something about dessert first or whatever. I started this a long time ago. But your life is a meal, and then all of a sudden it's like, by the time, I've always wanted to go to Australia. I started singing Waltz and Matilda when I was 5 years old because my parents always wanted to go to Australia. And among other places. And there's a book. In the meantime, Jim Hurley has adopted that. Okay, I want to do this and this. But in the meantime, so we're all in our meantime waiting to get to where we think we want to go. And I'm almost past my meantime. And I don't want to be too full for dessert. I've been places where I've actually had dessert first, especially when I was in California. Are y'all out of time?
No.
Oh, and so that's the thing. So getting on an airplane, I'm not afraid of that. I've been over Niagara Falls in a helicopter. And so now it's just like while I'm still physically able, everything hurts most of the time, but to get out and enjoy that. So I started thinking about this seriously in March, and then the COVID thing hit, and it's like, I don't think this is a good time to do anything. But is there ever a good time? Not really. I'm leaving paradise. This is my utopia. This is my paradise, and it's kind of scary when you get to be an older person, but sometimes you just have to take chances. And when I look back at the first 68 years, obviously I wasn't afraid to challenge myself or take chances or do what I thought was right. When I left Augusta National in 1972, oh my Lord, have mercy, you'd have thought I tried to burn the place down. I caught a lot of heat for that one, but it's like this, I don't know. So I have faith in my ability to make decisions, whether they're right or wrong. Because if it's the wrong decision, all you got to do is do a U-turn and go back in the other direction. So I want to, I bought a baby grand piano 25 years ago, and I can play by ear from the time I was a child. So when we don't have time for the story, but I can tell you the story about the piano and hot dogs will leave you laughing. You know that story, don't you? And but when I got the piano, David, who was questioning my sanity at the time, I'm sure, he said, you will take piano lessons. And when they moved that beautiful mahogany, oh man, it's just gorgeous. And I still have it. I was afraid to touch it. So I started taking piano lessons. I did that for 2 years. I was working in the medical field with the epilepsy program, and there was this big machine I'd carried, this big EEG machine. I did brain surgery twice a week. I said it was easier for me to go in the OR and make sure there was no electrical interferences with this mechanical thing than it was to learn where middle C was. I do love music, and do you play?
I've played guitar.
Okay, but it's tough. It's tough. If you can hear it, I can hear it. Yeah. But the notes aren't the same as what you hear, so not that it really matters. So one of the things at the top of my list is to find a good piano teacher and start taking lessons again. When I was living over in Augusta, Sunday mornings, I loved to play hymns. That's another thing people don't know about me. And and open the windows, and it was spring, and you're playing that piano, these beautiful Christian hymns. And my neighbors go, okay, Sunday morning, Billie's over there playing her piano. And I thought that was wonderful. And then I joined a group of women probably 5 or 6 years ago over in downtown Aiken, Van Gogh to Go. I painted a picture. A Van Gogh with the Christmas tree that's on the beach, and we didn't put the lights in it. I can paint a wall like nobody's business. I really can. You want some, I can paint. But I've never been able to do that. So, that was fun. So that's on my list, is to take some art classes. Start another book club. And another thing people don't know about me is I grew up at the Mathis's plantation, if you want to call it that, on Oscaga Lake Road with horses. And I'm sure there's probably somewhere in Aiken, county that I could, volunteer or get a job working with horses. Maybe go find a golf course to work on. Or as there's some conversation, may come back up here on a part-time basis just to keep things orderly and and unpredictable. So, and then some traveling. Traveling's not going to be high on my list right now because of all the stuff going on. And y'all are only 5 miles away. That's probably going to be it. Well, who knows? Who knows? I mean, I may meet Mr. Wonderful in 6 months, and who knows? I'm open-minded about anything.
That sounds like it.
Yeah.
You got anything more? No? I think we're good.
Thank you. My fellow Americans, my fellow folks at Aiken, past and present. Bob Alexander, Tom Hallman, and this is where I don't want to start crying. Randy Warwick. Trudy Henson. People probably didn't know Trudy, but she's probably one of the most remarkable professors we had up here. We lost her years ago. Doug Cook. We've really lost a lot of people here. We have the girls in business services. You rock. What are y'all going to do without me? Thank you all for being so kind to me and letting me bombard your office. Admissions. I loved going to admissions because when I'd walk in the office, they'd stop what they were doing and we would have like a 10-minute gab fest. Our custodians, all the guys over in maintenance. I could go on and on. Gary Sin, you are a hoot. Love you all, and I may not be on campus all the time, but I will be hovering above, so always look to the skies.
Okay. Good to go.